Hello friends, I'm Kayla. Welcome back to my channel. Sometimes I screenshot hate comments that make me giggle. And I thought today we would look through that folder that I have and see, it's very strange of me, see if I can find some books that align with those comments. I feel very fortunate and lucky that I don't get a lot of hate on the internet. Knock on wood, at least in my own, this is not wood, in my own comment section, I don't. So when they pop up, I think it's fun. Maybe it's that I get comments that other people would interpret as hate, but I consider like critiques that I can take forward. There are some though that are just like, there's nothing positive for me to take away. I have one in here that I don't actually know is a hate comment, like maybe it's a compliment. I also feel like my hair kind of is doing this today, so why not pull it up? Someone said, I love that her hair looks like bacon. Just to give you an example of the funny comments that I get. There's another one that says, quotes me, something picky about me is literally everything apparently, which is so true, bestie. Then sometimes I get comments on my eyes and sometimes it's complimentative, maybe most of the time. And then occasionally I will get comments saying, you have the scariest bulging bug eyes, or your eyes remind me of that Bird Box movie when people like lost their sight or whatever. So since I am in my eyeball era, apparently, these are all the books that I've read recently with eyeballs on the covers. I picked out a bunch of eyeball books and I'm gonna read some of them. This one's from my TBR. It's the Haar. That's an eyeball. I've got Story of the Eye, which is the most terrifying because it's like a whole eye outside of the socket. I also have Little Eyes, which is covered in Little Eyes, which is a more tolerable cover. I've got comemadre, which is very unsettling. And then also this one, which is called We. I hate it. I hate it so much. So we'll see how many of those I get through. Also with me, you know, not being able to pronounce that and being just an idiot girl on the internet, I do also get comments about the quality of the literature that I read. You know, the ones that say, audiobooks aren't reading, so let's read a bunch of audiobooks this week. Someone tweeted me one time saying that I was destroying the pure love of reading or something like that because I was reading so many books in a month. But this one specifically from Matt, thank you Matt, came with a recommendation within it. Those are all easy books to read. You'll get more out of a Proust or Joyce than you will out of this modern crap. And so maybe this will improve my quality of reads if I pick up something that Matt has recommended me. I think what's funny about this comment is it's actually on a bookshelf tour, and on my bookshelf I do have like many like classics. I don't know if he's wants me specifically to just read more classics, or if he's specifically saying Proust or Joyce and thinks that I should only read them, and like those are the only two authors that are worth reading and I should just read them over and over again instead of like the 200 other books that I'm reading every year. But the best thing about this is in that bookshelf tour I have James Joyce on the shelves. So this is very much just a person seeing a girl in a skirt in front of a bunch of color-coded books and assuming that we're not well-read. I mean, I don't think I'm particularly well-read or well-spoken, but I do own a James Joyce, so I'll go grab it just for you. And then actually the comment that inspired this entire thing was somebody who commented and said that I seem to be cussing a lot more lately. And like, do I think it makes me cool? And I just want to say to that person, that's not true. That's not true. I have been swearing. Oh, I've been swearing since the beginning of my channel, and I might have to put together a montage later in the video to prove it. So why not read a book with fuck right there in the title? I mean, it's censored here, but this is the Mindfuck series, and I'm gonna read this week. The whole thing, not sure. This is a bind up of 5 books. It was very expensive. It's very thick. I wonder if Matt would approve. Anyway, let's get into it. First, I think we need to establish some respect for eyeballs because they help us see. They're so important. They're so beautiful, no matter what yours look like. This is the Eye Book by Dr. Seuss. Eyes, my eyes, his eyes. Hey, it's a rabbit. Wink eye, pink eye. Do you feel like you're in kindergarten again at the local library? My eyes see, his eyes see. I see him and he sees me. Our eyes see blue, our eyes see red. They see a bird, they see a bed. Oh, I'm not even showing. I would make a terrible public reader. They see the sun, they see the moon, they see a fork, a knife, a spoon. They look down holes, they look up poles. So many things like rain and pie and dogs and airplanes in the sky. And so we say, hooray for eyes, hooray, hooray, hooray for eyes. That's the takeaway. Eyes are beautiful and important. I'm gonna figure out what color my eyes are because I'm meeting my husband at the mall. Liam is away for the weekend camping and we never go shopping without him. So I'm gonna go into his least favorite store, the crystal and gem one, and I want Rob and I to pick out a stone that matches each of our eye colors because I have never in my life, not once, ever had somebody say, your eyes are blue. I love your blue eyes. It's always green. Everyone always talks about my green eyes, but online, I've only ever gotten comments about my blue eyes. And I wonder if it's just how it comes across on camera. But like, I feel like if you look at blue next to my eyes, my eyes do not look blue. But if you put my eyes next to green things, maybe they don't look super green. So perhaps I'm just perfectly in between and I need to see it physically in my hand. And I'm gonna do the same with Rob. His eyes are more evidently green, but let's go. Okay, we picked out our eye colors. What do you think? Are my eyes green? Is there not turquoise?
No.
Seafoam? What's in between green and blue?
Yeah, I like seafoam.
Emerald? No.
No, seafoam.
Aquamarine?
That's more on the blue side, I think.
Here, read some of my hate comments.
Okay, gobble gobble. I bet she gobbles good. Her eyes kind of look like those from the possessed man in Bird Box. Sorry for my English. I am a little German girl. Haha. How much to sit on my face? Sorry, this was too long for me. Kayla, same. Representation, represent that pink meat fold, please. Definitely your worst flaw.
You're probably right.
We don't need to see you taking off your makeup. This is not the girls getting together for a sleepover or a women's TV show about getting a makeover. This is people wanting to hear book reviews, not get intimate with a friend. What's next?
Disagree.
You're going to brush your teeth in front of us and shave your legs?
Yep, done that. Oh, I've waxed on camera.
Guys don't want to see women do their behind the scene things.
Didn't ask.
Oh my god, I love your hair. It looks like bacon.
It does look
like bacon in that still. Can anyone tell me, is she married? Did she has a husband? She looks like Bachelor, please. Tell me, please.
What does that mean?
You have the scariest bulging bug eyes. I want to shove your face into a pillow and show her a rogering. It's the same person as the other one.
Is it?
Yeah, Ashley Fisher was the other one that said you're about your pink.
Oh, I have a hater. Like a specific hater?
Oh, and say when I sit on my face? Ashley Fisher's been hating for years.
Well, I don't know if that's hate. She seems to be into me.
That's true.
Okay, I'm ready to start getting my actual eyeball reading done. I'm gonna try to read as many of these as I can today. And then the day is over and no more eyeballs. Today, June 3rd, will henceforth be known as Eyeball Day. Let's read them in order of length, starting with the smallest, going to the largest. Also, I think this is the most disturbing eyeball one to me, but you can let me know your thoughts about that down below. This is Story of the Eye by George Bataille. The only reason I know about this book is because it was mentioned multiple times in Mayfly by C.J. Lead, which I read recently, another disturbing eyeball cover. And I think the main character in here, who is a killer, and this is a very depraved kind of book, draws inspiration from Simone in here, who is one of the characters in literature who she looks up to because she's just kind of like gross and nasty with no seemingly reason. Like she doesn't have this backstory. She's not given a reason for the things that she does. And that I think is an inspiration for the main character in here. This might be my least favorite eyeball cover because it's like a realistic one. Like it's a whole, so at least I don't have to stare at it while I'm reading, but you do. So actually hold on. Well, that didn't really help because they didn't have eyeballs, googly eyes big enough. Also, side note, when did googly eyes get yassified? Because these are the lashes and the colors. Very strange, but of course I had to buy them. And now I want to look at all the books around my house and figure out which other ones need googly eyes. Here you go, Vera. That is infinitely better, obviously. Look how much happier our little kitty is now. Eyes for you. And we've got an eye for you. Ooh, now you girls can see what's going on around you. Perfect. Oh, and we can't forget you. What's scarier to you guys? Missing eyes or creepy eyes? Where is your eye? There? Stunning. And now the time has come to start reading. Who knew my bulgy eyes could bulge even more? Who knew when my jaw dropped, it could drop further? This is just sex. It opened with 6 pages of sex between two 15-year-olds. So, fun. I don't think there's an audiobook of this, so you can't like sample it anywhere. Here, I'll let you read it. Pause, go ahead. Pause, go ahead. Pause. Now they're having a threesome. Chapter 2. That was the period when Simone developed a mania for breaking eggs with her ass. I would put the egg right on the hole, and she would skillfully amuse herself by shaking it in the deep crack of her buttocks. Oh no! Oh no. Now they're having an orgy. A girl was so traumatized by the orgy, she's now in a sanitarium. So this was originally written in France in the 20s, and I imagine it was incredibly shocking in its time. And unlike so many things that came before it, now at this point it just feels like, what was the purpose of writing this? Like you just wanted to pen some depraved story. I'm also wondering if the translation is leaving something to be desired, because it's just all very like clinical and basic and things that I can't say without being demonetized. Like I on him while she got all over her while I took his and shoved it inside her. And it's also very blasé. Things are just happening so quickly. They I don't know, early on they were like, oh, and then we hit someone with our car and then kept driving. Like, what are we talking about? Do we want to sit here and decipher the metaphors and meanings behind everything in this story? You could say it's about teenage lust and rebellion, and when you don't, this book didn't say anything about like their education, but obviously sex is such a taboo topic for the youth in many ways, or has been. You know, don't ask any questions, sex is dirty, abstinence is the only answer. This could be seen as a cautionary tale of what teenagers will do when they just discover things on their own. It's typical teenagers doing whatever they want without repercussions and rejecting all authority. They mock and urinate on adults that they encounter throughout the story. And I think rebellion is the only thing that I can really take away if I had to think of something. In my opinion, this is just lewd for the sake of being lewd. It reminded me of reading Exquisite Corpse, which I didn't rate. Also true for this one. I'm just not going to, I don't care to. Though that book is like horror, this didn't go that far. It was just like gross and weird and stupid. They did indeed do something with an eyeball near the end. I was waiting for the eyeball scene that I knew was coming. It happened. I didn't like it. If this did something for you, great. If this is your favorite book of all time, I'm scared of you. Liam has a baseball game today, so we just drove an hour and a half and we'll be here for 3 hours and then another hour and a half home. So I haven't done any more reading, but I'm gonna read something while I'm here. I'm deciding between physically reading the Haar, like in between when there's slow moments, or getting the audiobook, because this one has an audiobook of whatever this is called. Have I even read the synopsis? On the outskirts of Buenos Aires in 1907, Dr. Quintana pines for head nurse Menendez, while he and his colleagues embark on a grisly series of experiments to investigate the line between life and death. 100 years later, a celebrated artist goes to extremes in search of an aesthetic transformation, turning himself into an art object. Right, I remember that. How far are we willing to go in pursuit of transcendence? This one is shorter, and maybe I can get through it. They're also like warming up for an hour, so we'll see. It was so windy and so cold. I'm freezing. Liam got 2 runs in, and the whole game, his team only got like 6 or 7 runs in, which was one of their roughest games. They've won most of their games. This one was just not theirs. And then he almost got a 3rd run in, and it was chaos and didn't count. So I did end up listening to the audiobook of this, and I'll ponder my thoughts a little bit more, but my initial impression and what I would say to you is, this isn't something that changed my life and I wouldn't like recommend to everybody. If it's already on your TBR and you like weird stuff, I think it was fine. There are basically 2 stories going on in here. One of them is significantly larger than the other, or at least it felt like it in the audiobook. The first one was 82 pages and it was far more compelling. The second one was, what's 129 minus 82? Like under 60 pages. It was weirder, maybe not in a good way. I think it was trying to be something. But my main critique of it is just that the second one didn't really feel as like intentional. It didn't need to be a part of it. So the first one could have just been fleshed out a little bit more, or it could have been interspliced the stories back and forth. And I think I would have enjoyed that more because they do connect, but you could have felt more of it if you got, you know, the second one coming in multiple times. It was set in 2009 and it was its own thing, but it was also kind of reflecting on the situation of the doctors and what they were doing to these cancer patients. They were pretending they had a cure and bringing people in and saying, will you donate your body to science? Well, that's what all they said. Do you donate your body to science? And the whole point is that they made the contract sound like it meant after their death, but it actually meant before, and they were decapitating people in order to try to understand the afterlife. And it was interesting. I don't think it fully met its potential. Overall, I think I'm giving the whole thing like a 3.5. Of course, the second I go to film, my neighbor's suddenly making all the noise in the world. And it's not just a lawnmower today or somebody revving their engine. Like as usual, there's like a giant truck pouring rocks into somebody's, I don't know, they're like landscaping. It looks like it's gonna take a while. I can't wait because I'm really desperate to try these gummy eyeballs. I think I originally saw these. No, I know I originally saw. Why are you pretending, Kayla? There's this TikToker who I hate ASMR. I really dislike it. I swipe past it faster than anything. But there's this one account, Moon ASMR. And I don't know, there's something about the aesthetics of it all that I watch every single one, and she like never posts. But anyway, I had to get eyeballs of my own. First, I want to update you on the fact that I'm almost done with Little Eyes, so I need to talk to you about this because I read the majority of this last night. I am turning my 1-day eyeball vlog into 2 days, but it's still within 24 hours, I think, so it's my 24-hour eyeball section of the vlog. I've been thinking about this, and I'm not changing my rating, but I do think the more that I consider what this book was doing, the more I can appreciate it and the symbolism of it all. Basically, comemadre is a plant in the book, and there's this larva that can eat the plant and then puts itself back in the soil, and it's this life cycle. And so the book feels like it's about the larva and what they're doing with this larva and this plant, but the larva is in the plant. It's such a small portion of the story at the end of the day. The whole thing is about like pushing the boundaries of life. The plant obviously represents that, the killings of people represent that. And the way that the plant is such a small part of the story, I think symbolizes how life is treated in and outside the book. How fleeting it is, how short it is in the grand scheme of it all. The story being told in 2 pieces is almost meant to symbolize, in my mind, like the blooming process. The first story takes up such a bulk of it. There's so much time passing, there's so much development, much like cultivating a plant. And then the smallest part is the most performative, but it also is over so fast. And then I started Little Eyes. It's about these things called, it doesn't say it on the back, but they're Kentuckies, something like that. And there are these like robot creatures. They look like stuffed animals. Oh my God. Which one should I eat? The blue one? The green one? We'll go blue because I have 2 of them. And these creature robot teddy bear things are something that you can purchase, kind of like, they're kind of like a Furby, something that you can have as a companion, a pet, but they have a camera in it, and there's one person who has access to that camera. It is, like, it's so weird. And so you can choose to be like a participant or a watcher. And you can have a Kentucky, or you can watch the Kentuckys. You have like your computer, your tablet, or whatever, and you can just watch what's happening, but there's no communication. But the person with the camera can control, like, it makes little cute sounds, and it can move. They can control where it goes in the house and what they want to look at. Obviously a very strange concept, but I think there are so many things that this book is kind of referencing, or that you could assume the book is saying. I think the idea of this just taking over and everybody wants one, all these kids are obsessed with it, is so reflective of just anything that like is related to media, technology, the internet, especially when it's created so cutesy, like it can grab kids' attention and all the children want it. And the parents may be more inclined to get it for their children before they've looked into what it actually is. So they have cameras in their house without even realizing it. Kind of like when your kid gets into like an online game and you don't realize that they're chatting with other people, or like it's just all about internet safety. But I think it's also about the obsession that people have with the internet, and it can control your life. I'm at the point where we're following also like so many different people, and it feels like a short story collection, because we'll go to various places around the globe and we're just focused on one person who either has one or is looking through the camera of one, and it's how it can consume your life. For some people in a good way, like if you are an old lady and you don't have your family around, it can make you feel loved. Like this person across the planet who's never seen you, who doesn't know you, it feels like they're taking care of you. They are talking to you. They are making sure you're on your charging station every night and you feel loved. But then there's also people who get this device and they're hanging out with all their girlfriends and their teenagers, and they want to do like the most inappropriate things in front of the camera to see like if they can get a rise out of the person that's watching. And it's just very fascinating. I'm having a good time. Oh God. Oh, the blood vessels aren't actually on it. It's on the package. Ugh. I love Moon ASMR so much that when I first got my Invisalign, I was thinking like, I should definitely, when I have like straight teeth, because she zooms in so close, and like I don't need anybody that close to my mouth. But I was like, maybe when my teeth are so straight, I'll start an ASMR TikTok. I'm doing this guessing game of people seeing if they know what the theme of the vlog is. It's pretty unguessable. Everybody's obviously talking about eyeballs because the pictures I've posted so far are of eyeballs. And I saw a couple people say like maybe it's about confronting my fears, because I do hate an eyeball. And this right here, chomping on it, just seems like the greatest way to face my fear. If you're looking for the truest oh my God, this looks so similar. Truest fucked up eyeball book, not just like one eyeball scene or eyeballs in the cover. This is an eyeball book. I read this a couple months ago. It was sent to me by the publisher, and it comes out this month. I just lent it to my mom and she brought it back, and it's about this girl who gets obsessed with consuming eyeballs. Should I bring you in close like I would if I had an ASMR channel? Ew. I was waiting for the goo. It's sour. Oh my God. Okay, anyway, that's enough eyeballs for the day. Just kidding, I gotta finish this. I'll let you know how it goes. I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4-star. It was a really interesting look at voyeurism, and it's told through so many perspectives that it keeps things interesting. I think there's, I wanna say 5 or 6 different people who you constantly return to see how things are developing. I found the conclusion interesting, but if it were by any other author, I would have read this expecting it to have some like great implosion at the end. But because I'm already acquainted with Samantha Schweblin, oh, there it is. I was looking for this book. It's on my table for some reason. Already well acquainted with this author, it ended exactly how I was expecting. I think that I have been spoiled by another book that I only gave 4 stars also, but having read something like The Measure by Nikki Erlich, and knowing that a book can cover absolutely every scenario that you could come up with yourself as the reader, that's what I wanted from this. And so I think it just could have been longer, because in The Measure, everybody suddenly wakes up and there's a string on their doorstep indicating how long their life is. And There are so many different perspectives in here. And every single scenario that you could come up with, like what if this type of person found their string? What if this happened in a relationship? What any implication that you would want to see how somebody would handle, it gets explored in here. And it was such a satisfying read because of that. Meanwhile, in here, I left the book thinking, oh, but what if this type of person got their hands on this device? What if this type of person was somebody who was watching? So I don't know if I maybe wanted more POVs and more just random scenarios thrown in here, or if I wanted it to be longer or what, but it's definitely a 4. I feel good about it. Great translation from, is it Megan McDowell? I feel like Megan McDowell does all of Samantha Schweblin stuff. Yes, indeed. Now I'm gonna move on to the Haar, finally. I started it last month or the month before. The first chapter was a lot, and now I'm excited to get back into it. I am getting the feeling this is gonna have to be a really quick review and portion of this vlog because I don't think I can talk about what's happening in here at all. First of all, I learned that the Haar is like a word already. I thought it was the name of this creature, but it's actually like the wind, the fog that rolls in. This takes place in Scotland in a fishing village, and there are these people developers who have like taken down every single house, and they're building these huge structures, and there's like 2 people. Well, at the beginning of the book, there is a handful of people who have remained. I just put on so much chapstick. And finally they agreed to sell because they're being offered so much money by this company, and now we have remaining like 2 people, a man and a woman, and they both don't have like partners anymore or their children in their lives, and they just live here by themselves, and they are trying their best to evade this developer, to not take his money, to not give in, but they are pushing these people out. The creature comes from the Haar, appears one day to our main character Muriel, and the creature wants something. It's reminding me of reading Crossroads by Laurel Hightower right now. Just the idea of something like feeding on something, but at this point, not quite halfway in, it's taken I don't even know. It's gotten, first of all, extremely descriptive, gory. It's horror. Oh, it's horror. It's not my cutesy little like social horror or cosmic horror. Like, this is descriptive, and I'm liking it so much. And something that just happened with this creature, I was just not expecting for it to escalate so quickly and become what it's become. So I'm very intrigued, and I just need to finish this immediately. So I'll talk to you when I'm done it, okay? I come to you to finish of the day, but I don't have any conclusive thoughts. I don't know what I'm rating this. I actually don't know. Part of me wants to just give it a 5, but I don't know if that feels right. I also read it so quickly that I don't know. I just couldn't put it down. I think the audiobook, because I looked up to see if it has an audiobook, doesn't come out until the end of like July. Maybe I'll listen to it again, or maybe I'll listen to it before deciding what to give it. I can't find any flaws in it. It's also like one of the most ridiculous things ever. Like, the series of events are so escalatingly wild, and it's so unlike anything I've read before, but it also has so many familiar pieces of everything that I've read before. There's one specific book, one specific movie that I want to reference, but that would spoil what the actual whole intent of the book is. If you're looking to read more books about elderly characters, Muriel is definitely one to follow. She's grieving, and there's just a lot of death in here. Would I call it splatterpunk? Is this the first splatterpunk I have aggressively enjoyed? Perhaps. I'm not committing to a rating. So sorry. It's the end of the night. I'm so tired. I just want to go to bed. But I would recommend this. Horror lovers, I'm recommending it. It's the kind of book though that someone might leave a review that says like, this didn't make any sense. I had to suspend my disbelief. This sequence of events is so unrealistic. Even outside of like the evil creature, like all of the characters in the book and what they're doing is just like, what are you talking about? How would you make that decision? Why do you jump from here to here? Everything's overly convenient. It's just bloody destruction. And I had a wonderful time. Okay, bye. Let's talk about the Mindfuck series while I finish getting ready for the day. Just to annoy, what was his name? Flugelhorns. Here's the thing. you could read this as the things that that person would want me to change in order to enjoy my content more. And I respect that. But I respect that from people who have actually been here for a while. And the great thing about this era of the YouTube app is that when you get a comment notification on your channel, you can click on that person and it'll show you every comment they've ever left before. And if a comment comes in like this and it's from somebody who I know and I see has been here for a long time, I may consider what this, I've changed so many things about my content, the way that I film things, the way that I talk about things, the books that I read, based on my audience who is so lovingly here with me and who's been here for a long time. But when it's somebody's very first comment, I take it as they expect me to be like someone else that they're watching. They want me to read books more like someone else. And everybody just does booktube their own way. Like, I don't need to cater my content to you because somebody else out there is already doing it. I'm just grateful for the people that are here, and I would rather cater my content to the audience I've already built rather than trying desperately to appeal to new people. It's so oversaturated that you can find that person doing that thing the exact way that you like somewhere else. My channel has never been and will never be a place that's just for books. I think this is something that I want to touch on in my like 10 years on booktube Q&A, if I do that, or just like a discussion, that there are a couple different elements to why somebody might follow you and check out your channel and stick around. There are people that I watch for the books and they're reading things that I read similarly. There are people that I watch for the aesthetics. There are people that I watch because of their personality. I think all of those things can be true on one channel, but I do think overwhelmingly so, as time passes for this channel, it's about people who are not just interested in what I'm reading, but are interested in my actual reading journey and my life. And so you just happen to be here for every element of my life, which is cooking food, which is putting on makeup, which is going to baseball games. And it also means understanding and respecting that I check in when I can, when I have time, which happens to be, as a busy person, while I'm cooking, while I'm putting on makeup, on my way to a baseball game. But of course, what is always driving the content is the books. The books are why we're all here. And thus, I need to tell you that I accidentally already finished the first book in the series because I didn't realize that it would be over in just 120 pages. So the first one is called The Risk. Then we've got Sidetracked, Scarlet Angel, All the Lies, and Painted All Red. I think I am committing to reading the entire thing, not because I liked that first book, I did not, because I want to see how things progress. I want to see if the writing improves. I want to see maybe what just the author intended for this entire thing to be. I think that things progressed way too quickly for my preferences as far as this goes as a romance story, because they were already having sex 50 pages in. There was not enough build up. There was not enough of this slow burn considering how long this is, but knowing that it exists just as 120 pages, 50 pages in does make sense for that. The book kicks off with a list of people that our main character, Lana, is setting out to kill. So it's not one of those serial killer stories where it's just anybody, it's bad people, it's good people, or like it's a specific group of people who have done her wrong or were related to doing her wrong. Something has happened in her past and she's on a revenge mission. Not always my favorite. I don't know how to justify me reading this. The other perspective, it's gonna get worse because Logan is an FBI agent I don't like. Detective POVs a lot of the time. And they meet each other randomly. It's obviously a dangerous situation because why would you get involved with somebody who could catch you for being a murderer? But they just get obsessed with each other. Very quickly. He's letting her in on the cases that he's working and she offers her kind of advice on them. Where I'm struggling the most is it's dual POV and Lana just seems like such a different person from her own perspective versus Logan's. Every time she speaks in Logan's chapter, she's very like, oh my gosh, I'm just like a weak little girl and I know you have to go off and work and you have this big important job and I could never take priority and I know you're such a big bad guy and like you come back to me whenever you have time. And then in her chapters, like she's a killer, so she's more assertive, she's more strong-willed, just has more of a purpose, more of a personality. And I can't tell at this point if it's her putting on a kind of front while she's talking to him, if she's trying to come across a certain way, if she's trying to seem much more innocent than she actually is, or if he is just interpreting her as being like because they barely know each other. They have barely interacted in real life. So it almost feels like we're viewing her through his eyes as his like dream girl and being just like perfect and submissive. Or the third option is it's just not very well written and the author is forgetting about consistency. That's my number one struggle. My number two struggle is they are cringy as hell. He literally at one point was like, they'll never fire me because I'm such a badass. And then she was saying something like, oh, he gives the most awesome hugs. And I was like, awesome, awesome. Near the end of the first book, we got our first actual descriptive like death scene. And I'm wondering if that's going to continue moving forward. I'm trying to see if there's anything else I highlighted. I pretty much just highlighted things that I didn't like. Oh, I find his work life very heavy-handed. Like, it's clearly trying to introduce us to the scenario of his office and for the author to go like, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to the FBI and it's not what all of you think when you watch TV shows. But so she will just throw in one of his coworkers going, there's always 3 or more cases going on at once, despite the lovely way TV depicts us as having just one case at a time and free time in between. Dating, well, it's not so easy. Like she's saying that to her coworker who already knows how their job works. It's just such a weird sentence to throw in there. I probably would have given that a 2.5 if I had to rate it, but I don't have to. I'm not going to go on and rate The Risk on Goodreads. Now I can read the entire thing and just rate this, and hopefully it'll be higher than a 2 because there's going to be so much going on. There's going to be other people we get introduced to, other cases. They're obviously going to get closer. I don't know how dark it's going to get because when I was reading Butcher and Blackbird, I said that I wanted it to be like when you're talking about serial killers, I wanted it to be like gory, even though it also has this like romance or erotica to it. And I can't remember if I convinced myself mindfuck was that or if other people said that I would enjoy mindfuck more. I know that people have been telling me I will like this, but now I can't really remember why. And I'm wondering how it's all going to end because I want him to also decide he wants to be a serial killer. And because he's an FBI agent, he can like get all of this information and be like truly the best serial killer. And then they can work together and like have sex and kill people at the same time. I think it's gonna probably go more in the direction of he's gonna find out that she's killing these people, but because it's for a good reason, he's gonna accept it and she's gonna eventually stop killing and they're gonna live happily ever after. Book 2, also 2.5 stars, Sidetracked, perfect title. We have been sidetracked from the plot. We've been sidetracked from the romance for sure, which now it makes sense why people pitch this as like, it's more murderous than romance. I don't know what the books are to come, but that one, I don't think anything sexy happened. This one was, I don't want to say darker because we're still following a killer, but we're not really getting on-page active killing scenes. But it was darker and more emotional in that the other case that Logan is trying to solve has children involved. It's sick to hear about, but it's not like too detailed or gratuitous in any way. It's just that's what he's up to. On my point from earlier about like, is she acting naive on purpose? Like that's the obvious takeaway, but because she never acknowledges that to herself or the reader, it's just a little bit questionable. I think it's obvious that she is trying to act sweet and naive because the opposite is her real personality where she is murderous and he's trying to track down a serial killer and doesn't realize that it's her. So, but it's like, are we rooting for them? Because she, like, why are they together? She has an entirely fake personality around him. He's falling in love with someone that she isn't, so I don't know why I'm supposed to care. I don't want them together. There's a lot of like classic jealousy going on in this book. She's in danger because she's dating him, which like, I don't know, the timeline of their relationship is just very quick, and he thinks that because he's in the FBI and he's dating her that she is in danger of the serial killer and is going to try to take her out so it impacts him, which for a book that's so often, like, it's not like the TV shows, it's nothing like you see on TV, it's very much a TV plot. So there's a police officer who goes to her house to protect her, but he's all jealous because like, oh my god, this attractive man, he's gonna be in the same room as the woman I love. And then she goes to his office and there's women there, oh my god. And of course they're all like, they used to date him. They're jealous of the time they're spending together. And still her use of, for some reason, is just getting me. I don't know what it is in my brain that she just keeps saying, awesome. Like he's literally, oh no, wait. There was one sex scene because he was going down on her and she was like, this is awesome. Maybe I'm a little bit hangry because I've had food in the crock pot for 6 hours and I just keep smelling it and I want to eat it. So I'm gonna go have dinner. I'm gonna read Scarlet Angel, and maybe that'll be the perfect situation for me to love it. Yeah, no. Dinner was good. The book is not. I gave it a 2.5. It took me an hour to get through each of the first two. And then this one took me 6 hours. I'm feeling unmotivated. So much of the murder is secondhand. It's them being like at the police station going, oh my God, this crazy serial killer sewed this one guy's dick onto another guy's body. It's just like an offhand comment. And then we don't actually get to see the scene. Instead, we just get a lot of dialogue, which makes sense for the book and what it wants to be. Because it's a revenge mission, because she's meeting up with all of these different people and she's taking them down for a reason, she wants to have this dialogue with them, and that's fine. Even though she is not part of the FBI, she is a killer, she's very aware of like crime scenes and she knows the intricacies of forensic stuff. So in that way, she almost feels like a partner of his, because she is helping him like kind of put clues together and think up different things. And so that knowledge that they will share is what kind of makes them feel compatible in the book, and what makes it feel to me like almost colleague level, that if you watched or you actively love and watch like Criminal Minds and CSI and all of that type of stuff, there's often little budding relationships, things that like the fans want. And so if you're a regular watcher of those and you're reading this, where they have such little personality, besides just holding this knowledge and being obsessed with each other, there's really not that much characterization. I think you could transplant the characteristics that you see in these shows and that are already so familiar to you into these characters, because there's nothing in here that's going to contradict the way that you're envisioning them existing like off page. On page, not a lot is really happening as far as chemistry, but if you have a lot of characteristics and relationship dynamics you already like, you can insert them in here yourself. Things to note about this third book: there does seem to be more graphic explorations of the trauma she has endured in each like subsequent story. Also, the book is occasionally misquoting or parsing Shakespeare, which is bothering me. And this was the story that finally used the phrase mindfuck a couple times. So that was just an exciting little Easter egg. And tomorrow, I'll read book 4, titled All the Lies. Well, as expected, for Lana, the jig is up. The jig had to be up eventually. There's nothing worse than when the jig is up. People are connecting the dots. Everything's coming out. I did not like that. But it's tough because there was a fun murder scene in there, and that may contradict what I'm about to say, but I'm just gonna say it. The graphic nature of this book I don't think is necessary. Each one of them gets more descriptive, not about murder. The murders have all been kind of equal, but as far as Laura's assault, the absolutely horrific thing that happened to her that involved many people, it's getting more described every time. And I'm trying to understand why, and I think it's to just drive home how horrific it was, why she turned out the way that she did, and why she's hell-bent on getting revenge. But 500 pages in, like, I didn't need to read it for a 5th time. I didn't need to read it being more gruesome than the last. And it was told like secondhand to Logan. And like, I can understand why, but I just think these scenes could be less descriptive. I think you could respect the trauma that she's gone through and what it's done to her brain. And obviously she is stuck in it. She is reliving it without traumatizing potential readers. Also, we're still on the eyeball train because we got a scene about somebody's eyes being sewn open. It still remains readable, and I'm giving it another 2.5. Brief intermission first to figure out how much I swear in videos. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a preference for the person that you're watching and the type of language that they use. That's totally up to you and what you're comfortable with. I do swear a lot. And if that's your issue, then like, okay, we can talk about that. We can talk about my opinion on words and how I don't think it's offensive to use words. Therefore, I've always sworn a lot. It's just a part of my personality. I feel like it adds the emphasis where I want, and I just see it as a part of my vocabulary. But if you don't like it, I mean, you're free to not watch. It's just not true that it's new. That's the only reason that I like jokingly, you know, was highlighting this hate comment. I feel like there's something to be said here about the types of comments that I'm using, and I'm not highlighting things that are actually full of vitriol and hate for groups of individuals or anything that I think could really offend somebody. And I'm doing that for a reason. So while I'm downplaying and making light of hate comments, I do feel like it's worth saying that threats and bullying are not funny, they're not cool, they're not necessary. It's so easy to not watch people that you don't like. Actual comments that are full of hatred have no place anywhere on the internet, in my opinion. And I hope for the people who leave that type of comment that they find happiness somewhere, because it seems like that would just come from a really miserable place. If you feel joy and happiness and fulfillment, which is what I wish for everybody, then you don't need to bring other people down. And those aren't the type of people that I think are leaving these specific comments. These ones are silly and we're having a silly time. But I'm gonna go ahead and watch 3 random videos, vlogs, from the last, like, I don't know, 5 years. And I'm gonna count the amount of swear words in each one, and we're gonna come up with an average of every single year. Here is 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, and 2024. And maybe it is true that I've been swearing more, but I guarantee it's not a significant amount. And now here's a sample size of every given year, just for the joy of being here. What the fuck? This bitch is a transformer. Haha, just kidding, bitch. Nothing fucking happened. And then it just went off the fucking rails. That's why my hair kind of looks like shit today. Oh shit. I would read the shit out of A Companion to the Wild Ones. It's hot as shit. What the fuck are we talking about? Build me a body so I can fuck you. Appreciate what you have. Live in the fucking moment. There are moments where you're like, what the fuck? And then there are moments where you're like, what the fuck? I'm fucking freaked out. Years of him treating me like shit because I was beneath him. He's gonna fuck something up. What the fuck was that? I should probably stop thinking about hate fucking him. Ooh, I bet there's some like Bookstagram bitches who will do recommendations and just getting that boss bitch moment. Shit. Oh shit. Oh, my wound is gushing. Shit, shit, shit. I need to get some shit done. It's so fucking stupid. The bitch who reads 200 books a year and still doesn't know shit about shit. Super fucking annoying. I don't know. The head bitch is in charge. I expect the characters to be fucking while they're killing somebody. Not fucking while they're tasting creme brulee and talking about what fruit notes it needs in the recipe. Having completed the entire Mindfuck series in 24 hours, what I want to say to you is, if this is on your TBR and you've been putting it off, you think you'll love it, I'm not gonna steer you away from it. Like, I didn't like it, but that's besides the point. If you have been looking at this thinking it's so intimidating, stop that thought and just pick it up. Because if you're set up to like it, you'll read it quickly, promise. I wish I hated this. I wish it was a bad book. I wish I could say like, no, I disagree with everybody and I want to rant about it. Hater Kayla's here. Like, I have so much to say. I don't. Like, I don't think it was I don't think it did anything particularly wrong. No, I don't get it. Like, I don't get the absolute love for it, but I'm also not like so on the other side of things that this is 1 star and I just want to talk about how terrible it was. Like, that would be fun. That would be fun to come on here and say that. So at least I would feel like I had a purpose to get on camera right now, but I don't, because I like, it's whatever. This was a 2 and the last one again, a 2.5. I feel absolutely nothing. I don't care how anything wrapped up. It was very action packed. So if you were waiting for like everything to come to a head, it definitely happens. But this was not as deranged as I was expecting. It was disturbing. It was sad. It was more sad than deranged. I was expecting it to go further. There are certain like extreme horror books that I read and I'm like, what the fuck just happened? And I thought this was like that level of romance thriller. I think I wanted more of a mystery. This is me. This is not a critique of the book. I wanted there to be mysteries because it was just really straightforward. It was like, this woman's killing people. She's falling in love with a guy who can't know. 600 pages of that. I would have liked just more substance. I would have liked more personality. I would have liked more romance, because this was just like lusty. They still don't know anything about each other because there's nothing really to know. They just know that the other person has a very strong moral compass. She's a serial killer, Kayla. They both have a strong desire for people facing consequences for what they've done. That's that on that. My wrists really hurt holding this for so long. And let's move on to another book. Welcome to my TBR closet. Well, it's also just my closet. One day I'm gonna have a bookshelf big enough to fit all of my books. But for now, I shove this collection of classics all in here. They're so beautiful when they're all lined up together. And someday they will all return and get to be on the shelf again together. Now, this comment in particular, obviously, like, you may not take as negativity, you may take as a suggestion, and I'm taking the suggestion, so obviously it works. But this type of comment is not unique to me. I'm sure I could go back to the beginning of BookTube. Oh, I do want to read this one. You know, go back and find elitist readers and touting that this isn't real literature, that's an easy read, this is trash. It's just part of being public on the internet about your hobbies. People are gonna criticize the way that you do your hobbies. Oh my God, I need to get the price sticker off that one. I think if I went back to that bookshelf tour, because I know I screenshotted that comment like probably years ago, I could find even more comments just like that, listing a bunch of authors that I should be reading instead of whatever you saw on that shelf 5 years ago. It doesn't currently represent my reading. It didn't even represent my reading in the moment because there was a lot of things there that I hadn't read, but now that shelf out there is all like my favorite books. Anyway, what I find funny is just that like James Joyce doesn't need your help. He doesn't need more book reviews on BookTube. And Matt, you're not gonna find your way back to this video once I read one of your favorites. And it's not gonna make me a better reader to say that I have read Dubliners by James Joyce. Hey, you know what? Matt didn't clarify which one to pick. I would argue that this is going to be an equally easy read. It's a short story collection. And I'm sure it's great, but it's not gonna make me stop reading, enjoying, and promoting the funny modern stuff too. Good morning. I am 20 kilometers into my weekend bike ride. Liam is at a sleepover and Rob has a cold, so I'm solo, but I stopped for just a beautiful beach view. And I decided today I was gonna listen to the audiobook because I haven't done enough audiobooks in this vlog. And I figured Dubliners is a good one because maybe a classic will make people mad because it's not the way it was intended to be consumed. We could have a whole conversation about audiobook reading. That's the original reason I had those screenshots. They're from years ago, is because I was gonna do like a discussion about audiobooks and how like obviously it's really ableist, etc., to infer what real reading and real reading isn't, but it's like kind of a cycle that's constant on the internet in the book community that just like always comes back up, and it's always the same conversations, and like there's nothing really to add to it. At the end of the day, beyond any other conversation, it's just weird to care how other people consume books. What I will say about this one is I don't know when it came out, but I think it was before audiobooks really had great intentional production, and I feel like you can hear like other people talking or like doors closing occasionally in the background of this audiobook, and that just makes it very funny. So I listened to the first 5 stories. They're all so short that I brought the book and tabs in my pencil so I could sit occasionally, stop every like 3 to 5 stories and jot down my ratings before I forget. Oh my gosh, it got so hot out there so fast. I ended up listening to the first, well, I ran out of tabs. I read the first 11, which means I only have 4 more to go. That's interesting. That means one of them must be kind of long, or they all get longer. Oh, The Dead is a long one. Anyway, they're all mostly like quiet stories about just mundane life. Obviously, it represents specifically people in Dublin in the 1910s, published in 1914. But I think almost all of these stories are going to be relatable to pretty much everyone. There are stories about romanticizing certain events, and then once you get there, it's not all you hyped it up to be, which obviously is not the wording that was used, but that's just like the takeaway of a couple of the stories. And then I felt like there were ones that were just simple stories that didn't really have an intent. Like there was one where a bunch of people were just getting together, the boarding house, and it was just a group of friends playing cards and how it was so important to have friends. At the end of the story, our narrator like lost all of his money because he was poorly betting when he wasn't very good at the game, and he was like, but at least I got to spend an evening with my friends, and it was just really warm. My favorite writing so far was at the beginning of 2 Gallants. There was just something about the scene setting. The gray, warm evening of August had descended upon the city, and a mild, warm air, a memory of summer, circulating in the streets. The streets, shuttered for the repose of Sunday, swarmed with a gaily colored crowd. Like illuminated pearls, the lamps shone from the summits of their tall poles upon the living texture below, which, changing shape and hue unceasingly, sent up into the warm gray evening air an unchanging, unceasing murmur. Oh, I also put my notes on the wrong stories now that I'm realizing, because obviously I listened to them and then assigned them, but I just numbered them and I put them in the wrong place. Anyway, there was one about a woman that was talking about like the future of her life and looking forward to what she wanted and having like a different life from her mother, but then the actual life that she was envisioning, I think she got scared of. And it was just like about not knowing what direction you're heading, I think. There have been a couple that I listened to twice just to see. Once I finished, I was like, this is the takeaway I got, but am I correct? So I wanted to go back through and see if I had missed something. There have been, for this not being entirely themed around the eyeballs, there's a lot about eyeballs in here. And I guess just looking at people, seeing their spirits come alive, and I don't know, when the eyes were very dark blue and steady, their gaze began with a defiant note, but was confused by what seemed a deliberate swoon of the pupil into the iris, revealing for an instant a temperament of great sensibility. The pupil reasserted itself quickly. This half-disclosed nature fell again under the reign of prudence. It's just so interesting the things that you could take away just by staring into somebody's eyes. So I have a couple more stories and then I'll tell you my official favorites by the end. Right now it's A Painful Case, The Boarding House, and 2 Gallants, but I've given everything from 3 to 5 stars to the stories. Okay. We're trying to figure out what bird is making what noise. I ended up finishing Dubliners and I'm giving it a 4 because most of the stories were a 4 or a 5. The only other 5 I gave since I talked to you is, what's it called? Death or The Death? And it was about this like, or the dead, this party, this dance, dinner party thing. It was one of the longest. I don't know why I needed to show you, but it was the last one in it. And I gave it a 5. I was like waiting for the death. There was all of these characters introduced and I was like, which one of them's gonna die? It wasn't that type of story because it's not that type of collection. It's more just simple life events. But that one was really well written and I had a good time with it. Looking back on that bookshelf tour now, there's quite a few comments similar that are listing like all of the authors I should be reading. So maybe I need to continue the experiment. And stopping at Home Depot to, you know, finish the ceiling debacle, grabbed a couple colors that are similar to my eye so we can figure out exactly what my eye color is named. Because I feel like bear is probably the best one to name my eye.
What?
I need you to tell me which one is correct. Look at it from this angle because the sun's right on it. Do you want to hold them up individually?
Too late.
Ow, you poked me in the eye.
Too late. Not perfect. These are I got all of them that were between, you're at the end of emerald and the starting of turquoise. This one's the closest.
Okay, I'm officially called Mossy Bench. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
All right, the vlog is over. Say goodbye to everybody.
Bye.
See ya.